how we almost got killed by a mountain lion, and as part of our near-death experience at the Canyon of the Ancients. So I'm so excited.
This is a long time coming, isn't it, Randy? Like, we're like, we need to record this. We need to talk about this. And how it unfolded today so perfectly is, I'm excited too. I'm excited too.
Yeah, trust in divine timing. It's just very, very beautiful to witness how you can have a totally different thought or topic or plan, and the universe often has its own plan. So here we are, just going with the flow, and so grateful for that. So where should we start? What do you think?
Well, how did it all begin? Right?
Yes.
I mean, as we connected as strangers, we had this kind of profound experience together in a very short period of time. Right? So us connecting, we don't know each other, yet we know each other and we trust each other, and we're trusting what's coming up for us. And it turns into this whole experience where we're like face to face with a huge predator and making it out, being divinely led, getting us, to a spiritual awakening like no other, and setting us forth on this divine path of being healers and trusting in our intuitive abilities to guide us. I mean, we cycled through everything in that experience. The good, the bad, the ugly, the no turning back, all of that.
Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful testament to how these things can really boost your spiritual evolution and your meaning and your purpose in life. So,
Yes, so beautiful. And I love that, I think we have to set the backdrop. I mean, this all took place in Colorado, in the mountains and the valleys of the Canyon of the Ancients and the ancient ruins there. So Ashley and I, we were heading to our first time. I had never been to Colorado. You had never been to Colorado, right? Because we were both like flabbergasted when we saw real tumbleweeds. We were like, what? That's real.
I'm in a Western movie right now. Like, oh my God.
Right. Yeah. So, the beautiful part is we all rode in the same car to the Canyon of the Ancients. So the universe already had started that, their connection of us two that way. And, the mountains are so beautiful. It's such a vast state, and it was a completely foreign territory for myself as well as Ashley, right? And so we're going into our first GeoLove session one, level one training, right? And our in-person experience. So we're in Dolores, Colorado at that point, 7,000 elevation, at the Heartland Ranch. And everybody's just kind of getting to know each other. It's always 11:33 in my world. Ashley's passcode for her room was 11:33, and I was like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!" I should have known right then and there. And it's
Right?
amazing to think that her and I were strangers, like that we didn't know each other, because I feel like I have known her my whole entire life. Like I can't even fathom this life without Ashley. So it is just so amazing. I know we have shared many, many incarnations. I know that our souls have been connected in so many different ways. So I am just so grateful that we got brought together. But this is kind of where everything just kind of culminates. So the day before, we're with our other friends. other soul sisters, and well, they're now our friends, but we didn't know them. We just met them there, Lauren and Joey. And wasn't there another person? I know it was Lauren and Joey, and there was someone else, and they're like, yeah, do you guys want to go to the Canyon of the Ancients, right? Or go see the ancient ruins? Now, mind you, I've never been to Colorado. I had no clue what they had there. You know what I mean? Like, all I knew was like, I want to go by water. That was it. And when you're in kind of that deserty area, there's, not a lot of places, but there is a beautiful river. So I just wanted to go to that. And Ashley and I, we decide the next morning, right? We're like, okay, everybody keeps bringing it up. So like, yeah, whatever, we'll go, right? So we had kind of planned on doing that too. And then the next morning comes and everybody's like, no, we're tired. We don't want to go. We're going to just stay here. We're just going to unwind, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, whatever. I go in, I go get breakfast, and Ashley comes in and she's like, hey, do you want to just us go? You know me. I'm like, sure. Okay. So we went and, we used GPS to find it. And so if you've never been there and you're talking about Canyon of the Ancients or the ancient ruins, there's multiple sites that you can go to that are just stunning and incredible and beautiful and powerful. So mind you, we had no clue of where we were going. I just put in, I don't know what I put, Canyon of the Ancients or ancient ruins in the GPS, and it brought us to the first space, right? We called it the light space. Is there anything else you want to add to that, Ash? Like just setting the backdrop on, our connection and how we got there. Yeah.
Yeah, because this was the day after our second activation, our actual activation. This was like integration day. We've never experienced the spiritual activation at this point. We did like a pre-activation, but that would explain why people the next day were like, nah, my energy shifted. I don't really want to, so things were starting to play out as we even drove to, the destination. Things started to kind of connect already. But yeah, I think that's the only thing I want to add. The GPS thing. Yeah, we'll get into more of that as we get into the story.
Right. So yes, thank you for adding that, because we did have our first spiritual, well, it's like technically our second, but our first real, like, powerful one. And it being integration day, you're going to set all kinds of intentions when you're doing a spiritual activation, right? And what you had said is everyone's energy shifted, and it's true, because everything now, not only is your body cleansing and shifting, but your spirit is activating and becoming more aware, your cells, your DNA, all of that, the cellular level of your body, your auric field, your meridians, like all of these things are like shifting and realigning. So,
and looking back, it's like things were coming up and being ready to release, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, as healers now, as practitioners, looking back, like all of that stuff that we, are about to go through and talk about, were coming up to be released and integrated and just transformed into something so much more beautiful, right? So.
Yes, perfect. And, if we were to just paint the picture of, so the first thing we did is we went to the Canyon of the Ancients, the visitor center, and that's the first place GPS brought us. So we had no clue what to expect or anything like that. And when we get there, right now, the land is just palpable. Like, you can feel the potency of the land, the power. You just feel like you're in this serene, magical, but calm space that it's like it's a combination of dry and desert, but has beautiful greenery. It has powerful sun, but it's not an invasive humid heat. You have, you know, cattle and livestock around. You can see across vast plains, but with huge, majestic mountains that are incredible. Some still have ice caps on it. Others have nothing but sand and dried up valleys. Um, so it's like you have this red deep rock and sandy background to contrast, you know, all the variations of greenery and bush and trees. So and I always think of like that really very beautiful variations of sand where it's like sand is like red and tan and brown and all of that. The most magical contrast to a mountain lion's colors. They look just like it. So the energy of the ancient ruins were just so invigorating. And so we get there to the Canyon of the Ancients, and what happens, Ash?
Well, I mean, I guess more of a backdrop or added backdrop is this is COVID times. This is 2020. This is like, you know, the whole energy of the world is shifting right now. You know,
Yes.
when we decide to go on this like spiritual journey, right? Which is divine timing because a lot of people just had these huge transformations and shifts in 2020, right? So it was meant to be, right? So we get there and it's closed, like the museum part is closed, right? Because the whole COVID thing. But there is somebody sitting outside attempting to help people and guide people that are visiting. And we thought that was pretty cool. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna go up and, you know, do our thing. And he's like, oh yeah, enjoy. You know, it was a very, you know, short interaction. So we start walking up the paved road. And just before we start walking, my gaze just turns to this sign on the right-hand side. And I walk over it. I'm drawn to this sign, not knowing what's to come. Drawn to this sign. And it's a beautiful picture of a mountain lion. And it's explaining, you know, at certain times, mountain lions, you know, they are rare. But if you do encounter one, this is what you do. So I'm reading it and I'm like, oh, this is good to know, even though I don't feel like that's going to happen. This is the middle of the day. You know, I don't think twice about it. So we walk up and we're talking because, you know, Brandy and I just met. So we're talking and, you know, we're sharing our experiences of being the black sheeps in our family and how, you know, just, you know, we've experienced so much in our lives and thought we were alone and our journeys through just the first part of energy healing and the 30-day program that we did together before we started the certification process. And on the way, you know, we pick up little rocks that speak to us. And I picked a little bit of sage, dried sage off a tree. And we just had this beautiful experience. And, you know, we cried and we just bonded on such a deep level. And this is after our activation. So things are really just moving and shifting and we're allowing it to kind of happen and exploring our gifts. And, you know, I sing libation at the actual site, at the top of the site. And we just have this beautiful unfolding. It was gorgeous. And just looking, like Brandy said, like the vastness of the land and the beautiful landscape. It's just so picturesque. You know, like you have to see it for yourself to really understand, to be there, right? And we all know that ancient sites are built on purpose in certain spaces mathematically, and like the we just know much more about those ancient civilizations and how precise they were mathematically. So I think it was just an elevated activation experience that we went through. And so after that, we started walking back down the hill, and I'm just gonna let Brandy take over because she had the most beautiful experience walking down and continue our conversation. So
Yes. So
back to you.
to piggyback on what Ashley was saying, when we were at the top of So you walk now, mind you, you don't think you're going to see no mountain lions. Like I'm from New York, and even in upstate New York, people like, oh yeah, there's a mountain lion or whatever, but you've never see them. It's like, what are you even talking about? Even if you're walking on a hiking thing. So it's just very uncommon. But we both pay attention to the sign, and we're like, oh, okay, cool. But this has a paved path. You walk all the way up, you get to the top, you see the site. So Ashley and I just really connected, because the site, when you're at the top of this mountain, and you have the sacred geometric patterns in which the ruins, are laid out as and designed, and what's, remaining of the prior structure. But you look out and it's above this beautiful valley where water runs through in some spots. Some spots it was more had like ice, kind of like a little bit of snow. Others were dried in the little patches of greenery. There's just like the water running through it. So you could see like miles and miles and miles from the top of this mountain. And it's different than in a mountain in New York, because in a mountain in New York, most of the time you're going to have trees that are just covering everything. So it'd be hard to, see unless you're at like the edge, right? So that's where we were. The wind, the direction, the mountains, like it was just incredible. We cried, we sang, we laughed, we just were mindful and basked in the moment. So we are at this point like releasing all this stuff that had come up. And prior to me coming there, my complex post-traumatic stress disorder was at its all-time high. Like I was mentally just so struggling. And I had lost so many people, and I had so much grief that was like releasing from my body with losing. My mom got killed, my ex got killed, my niece died, like, my friends have died. It was just like so many people at such a short amount of time, but the land just allowed me to just release. It was incredible. And Ashley and I just bonded and connected. And so we're like, okay, we're done here. We had the experience. We're now walking back down the mountain. So Ashley, the same with her, we see little things that kind of stick out. I see one little stone here, and then just another little stone, right? One kind of shaped like a heart, and then another one. I just put them in my pocket. I don't know why. I just do. So I was just called to do it, and I just did it. So we start walking down after all of this release happens, the joy, the tears, and everything. And we're getting like 3/4 of the way, and I'm just watching Ashley walk, and I'm a little bit behind her. And all of a sudden, just start seeing her, which I now know was her higher self. And her feet were walking on the ground, and they looked like reddish orange with every step she took. She had this beautiful long, I would say, it's like a gown, but then it had like this kind of long veil thing. And it was like turquoise, and she had like gold jewelry on, and it was just a very ancient imagery of her in her highest self. And then there was this house of jade that like popped up in front of her as she's walking, and I'm like, so I'm seeing all this, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, I'm losing my mind right now, but then I just literally have to start telling her like verbal diarrhea. I'm like, this is what I see. This is what's happening. Then there was like a half eagle and a half lion, right? And that was kind of like more like the symbology of her husband. And then in this house of jade, I could see like thousands of people would come to bring her gifts, but she would always give them more than what she was given. And like to see the details in the jewelry and the energy off of her and of her, and I'm literally just spilling all this to her at the same time. She's like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. And my husband is a vast protector, but also lets me fly. And Is there anything else you can remember, Ash, of like with your whole higher self experience?
I think I remember you were telling me you're the Empress of the House of Jade.
Mhm.
And like you said, people used to come and give you, you know, certain gifts and you used to exchange with them. You spoke about my feet, which, connected to me being, not grounded all of my life. And I'm looking at you like, what do you mean? Like, I don't even feel my feet, right? Because of my
Mhm.
cerebral palsy, right? I have a slight paralysis. So it was it was such a beautiful experience. I felt like I was floating on air.
Yeah.
I really did. I was just so honored and smile, like this huge smile on my face and this confirmation that, I have arrived. Like I finally know where I've come from and I can, ground in that and be, you know, proud of that. So it was just
Yeah.
a exhilarating experience. Just you sharing that with me changed my whole aura and energy because I always felt like what am I? Like what am I supposed to be doing?
Yes, and it was so magical to just witness you in all of your essence and your power and your beauty and your kindness and just knowing like how many times that you have been a spiritual advisor and guide and healer. It was just really, really incredible to see and how every time like you took a step you could see the reddish orange under your feet. And when you had then told me about the cerebral palsy, and I had no clue about any of these things. So when we're talking about that, she's like, oh, yes, boom, boom, boom. Um, everything just lined up for her. And, that was my first time ever actually realizing I was seeing someone's higher self, right? And it play out, and it plays out kind of like a movie screen or a movie, but while it's happening at real life, and it also ended up where I saw my mentor's higher self, and that's a whole nother story, and wrote it down in a book, and everything was things that he identified with and resonated with and things that I would never know. Like he used to use the Ankh for many things. At that point, I didn't even know. I knew what the symbol of the Ankh was, but I didn't know what it was called. And so, yeah, we were vibing so high in that moment and in that experience. And it's like, I just literally just blurted that out to her without a care in the world, without a thought. Like, I'd never had that experience, but I just trusted in that moment that it was just supposed to be said and supposed to be shared. Um, and so then we make our way down towards the bottom, back down the mountainside, the pathway paved. Um, and then we see the guy, right? With his
Yeah,
black
the guy.
sunglasses on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's 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 like he was there, but he wasn't there. But then he picked up on our frequency. He was like, "Oh, you guys look like you had the best time ever." And we were like, "Yes, it was the most beautiful." You could just imagine, right? Like it. I I don't even know how to explain it. It was just this beautiful bubble that we were in. Nothing could touch us. And here
Right.
comes this person, that recognized this energy and was gravitated towards it right away, right? And us being conversationalists and personable people, we get into this whole conversation with this guy. And, he's really passionate about the ancient ruins. So he starts giving us suggestions to do things. And maybe you want to do this and go here. And if you're interested in this, not many people go to this one, and you can find objects and treasures and then it just started to change into something else. And we weren't aware of it at the time. It just felt so good, like that euphoric feeling, and you just want to kind of just go with the flow. And because we had such a profound experience, it was like, yes, we want to go and bring gifts
Right.
for
And
others, right,
continue.
Brandy? Like, let's go
Right.
find something.
Yeah, we
Let's
want to
continue,
continue. Yeah.
yeah, let's continue our journeys, right? So he gave us the address of the other place that we were now focused on going to. So we left what we coined as the light place and went to a Canyon of the Ancient site that wasn't too visited, which we then called the dark place.
Yeah. So when we spoke to that gentleman, now mind you, we realized in hindsight he was probably a shapeshifter, skinwalker, however you want to, whatever term you would coin. But his connection with us, as Ashley said, was like he could feel our energetic frequency was so high. He literally was like a magnet. There was no one else. It was like if he waited for us there. It was so bizarre and how the conversation unfolded. And he's like, yeah, I think you should go to this place. And there's a secret place there. He's like, so there's a secret place there that no one knows about, but I will tell you about it. So you can go there, right? And then you could find little trinkets or treasures, to bring back and share with the other people that are part of your healing program. Now, mind you, Ash and I, we just wanted to explore. We didn't need anything. It wasn't like, we just wanted to see cool stuff and have another continuation of the experience that we just had because it was so empowering. It felt so light and loving and free and beautiful. So we're like, okay. He's like, yeah, so you go to the secret place. He's like, so you can park and then you'll walk and you'll see it on the right side of the place. Now, mind you, Ashley and I have no idea where we're going. We've never been there before. So we drive and it's like 30 minutes away from where we were. So we're driving. And at this point, we are in the middle of nowhere. The land now is all flat, is dry, is no greenery, no people. And then when we take the turn, we're down this dirt road. It's not even like a paved road, right? It was like, yeah, like some stone and some dirt. The combination.
And tumbleweeds.
Yeah, right. And tumbleweeds. When we actually saw tumbleweeds, we were so hyped. So we drive down, we park. Now, mind you, when we're coming down, I got this feeling. And in my head, I just said, there's the place on the left-hand side. Something in me just knew there's the place. But in my mind, and as people who are knowers or channels, sometimes you'll question yourself, but then you realize, oh, I should have trusted myself in the first place. So I knew, and it's funny because I can feel my chest get like jittery right now because I feel like if I'm there. So I just knew that was the place, but I was like, well, the guy said we should be able to walk to it. And that just felt like way, way, way too far to walk on that road at all. So when we get there, we park and we start. So Ashley and I, we start walking. And we're just kind of looking and, and then there's kind of like, as you get up farther, there's like fencing. It's like, I don't know if you'd call it like barbed wire or what have you. But there's this fencing. And so everything now feels completely different, right? Like there's not really sun. It's just gloomy. The energy feels heavy. But we're still just kind of trying to look. So then we get to a place where there's like a break in a fence. And so we're like, do you want to go look down this way? Now, mind you, it was between where it becomes private property and it's the property for the ancient reserve. So we go in that kind of breakaway. So we start walking in and because I can still feel the trembling right now. That's so funny. Like my heart is like fast. we start walking, and everything is quiet. Like you hear nothing. But it's like, and it doesn't fully register in my mind. So just think of you're in a strange place. You've never been there. There's absolute silence. There's no one around. And we're being Dora the Explorer. So then what happens, Ash?
Yeah, no, when we turned into the Canyon of the Ancients drive, there was nobody there. Like it just felt like there was nothing, no livestock, no birds chirping. And usually when you're in nature, you hear nature, like, and we didn't hear nature, right? And I
Nothing.
think, Brandy, you were more in tune to this than I was. I was like still floating somewhere, occupying a space that obviously needed to be transmuted. But anyway,
Right.
so we start walking down this path, and every third step, I step on a prickly pear cactus that you couldn't see at all if you looked at the ground. And I wear these barefoot shoes. So, if I had regular shoes on, I probably wouldn't have felt it. But because I had these shoes on, every third step, I'm like, oh, Brandy, I keep stepping on these prickly pears. Like, what's going on? I can't see them on the ground, but they keep sticking me. And Brandy's behind me, and I just kind of keep going. I take it out of my shoe, and I'm like, okay, let's keep going down the hill. And Brandy's like kind of hanging back a little bit because she is feeling uneasy. And she's like, you know what, Ash, you know, yeah, it's really quiet. Like she wasn't like, oh my God, but she was like, it's really quiet. Like I don't hear anything. And like I'm feeling kind of weird right now. Like, and I'm like, yeah. So, we're exploring, right? And I'm like leading the way into the depths of nothing. Oh my gosh. And I'm getting the signs. I'm stepping on prickly pears and I'm still kind of in this euphoric, we're here to find something mission of some sort. Like I just couldn't explain it, right? So we get down to a certain point and Brandy gets a sign from her mom. Her mom shows up in butterfly form, right? And mind you, there's nothing around, there's no nature, there's no birds. And then this one butterfly just comes and just goes in front of her face. And she looks at the butterfly and looks at it fly off. And she instantly knows that we should follow this butterfly to get us the hell out of there. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So we stop in that moment. And we're like, well, I don't want to go too far. We don't want to get, off track, right? Off track. And I start to hear water. I start to hear the river. And I'm like, yeah, let's not go, too far. Let's go back up. So we turn around and we see this big, beautiful boulder. And we're like, oh, let's take a couple of pictures. And so we go over and she takes a picture of me. I take a picture of her. And we start going back up the hill. Right, Brandy?
Yeah, so let me add to that. When we're going now, it's very different than the light place at the Sand Canyon Pueblo. Literally, we are walking through woods now. And we are now going down over an embankment. We are climbing over trees. We are, we're kind of navigating that whole thing. And now her talking about the prickly pears, I did have on regular shoes. And at some point, even one of those prickly things got into my shoes. And it was literally the universe kept giving us these signs like, don't take another step. You should go back. And I was feeling it in my body and in my heart and in my mind and in my chest. Every ounce of me knew like we shouldn't be here. And all I kept thinking, I've never been in a space where I felt like if we keep going, we are going to get lost, because it was such a space that everything looked the same no matter what direction you were going in, except for things would go up and go down. And so I just knew if we kept going further, we are going to be so turned around, we're not going to know which way is out. There's thousands of miles of forest at this point, and we will have no clue on where to go or how to be going. We're going like kind of like down in, right? And my hairs are freaking out, my skin is standing up, but like literally when Ashley says the butterfly, one butterfly. So when I say the sound of nothing, she really means the sound of nothing. It was literally death silence. What in hindsight, we now understand that when it's that death silence, that's because there is a huge predator in the area. There wasn't a cricket, not a bird, not a nothing chirping. And so as part of like my people pleasing kind of thing, I didn't want to be like, hey, Ash, we should stop or let's turn around or whatever. And then we saw the boulder. But right before the boulder, which was on the right of me, that butterfly, the one butterfly, the only insect in the whole thing, the only movement, the only sound, that thing came straight to me. And of course I'm like startled, like, oh wow, like there's a butterfly right here right now and there's nothing and I'm hearing the nothing and I'm freaked out. So, and it turns me right around and it goes straight up to go out. So you can see already, Spirit is talking to us, the land is talking to us, the universe is talking to us, but her and I, we were just caught up in a mission. We were just vibing so high. We really weren't even our own, I think, level of consciousness. It was kind of, we were just part of whatever this larger thing that was happening, and so we did take the pictures and, Ashley and I are doing this.
Yeah.
Clapping.
I forgot about that.
Yes.
Because that's what I read on the sign when we were in the light place. So something like intuitively I knew as this like conqueror energy that was coming over me, or I inherited from this man, like we talked to, or it triggered something within me to release and resolve. I'm going down there clapping loud, everything to push back any kind of predator. And I'm doing it. I'm not even knowing I'm doing it, but I'm doing it because something is there.
Right. You could feel it. Like literally, you could feel it, and how, because we were silly and naive and caught up in the moment, it dawned on us, but didn't, you know what I mean? Right. We were part of this bigger plan or mission, and
it was euphoria.
Right. It was a euphoria. And my skin wanted to rip off. And I still. So we turn around though. We take the picture. And we turn around and we make our way. So it gives me like an ounce of like breath at this point. Like, okay. But I'm like, hey, Ash, why don't we go on this side of the fence? And so we do. So now, mind you, the other thing is I keep seeing poop, shit, literal animal feces all over the place. And I'm like,
and the tree, you saw the poop and then you looked up. It's like you knew that something had been there before we stepped into that area.
Right.
And whatever I was doing had moved it.
Right.
Further along.
Yeah. So we didn't even get to that part because we now went up and around into to the right side of it. We moved to the right side. Now at this point, we are now on the right side, not as much thick bush, but now you have trees and so we also see other signs, right? We see a lot of poop all over. We also see an animal, probably some type of cattle head, just the skull, bone, eaten straight off, like nothing left.
Yeah, and it was like a clearing there. Like this is when we were in the ancient area that right. no one goes there, but it's a part of the ancient ruins, and you could see the clearing And then the skull was there, and we were like, "Oh, look, Brandy, there's a skull over there. That's so cool."
Yeah.
Like, seriously? Like,
Right. Like you wouldn't think like, oh, there's a skull and now there's poop all over. And so at this point, I start saying to Ashley, so we're still walking now. We're going back down now. We just went to the right step, and now we're going back down this valley. So we're scaling under trees, we're scaling down rocks. And I'm talking about rocks that are as big as a car, that form these beautiful caves. So we literally don't stop, even though we still had prickly pears. We still had the death silence. My skin wanted to rip off. And I could feel like my body just knew something was with us. But there was no sound at all. And as we make our way farther down in this ravine, we'll just say, I'm like, Ashley, do you see all this poop? She's like, yeah, there must be a lot of birds or something around here. And I'm like, thinking in my head, I'm like, this ain't no damn bird poop. And if you would have seen the size of the poop, you'd know it's not bird poop. And it was everywhere. Long and short of it, we continue walking. And now, mind you, still, I could feel the intensity. It was like, they were just probably so close and moving over because they're like, what the hell are these two? They're making all this noise. They're in this space that no one's ever here. And we see this spot, and as we're kind of walking, I'm getting this like, oh shit feeling, like, oh my gosh, like something. I'm like, I'm like, wow. So Ashley was like, look, B. And at this time, I'm a little bit to the front of her to the left. She's to my back, kind of right. Now, this whole time, we're looking for the secret place, right? We don't know why. The random person sent us on this mission to find ancient ruins that no one else has. And we're just like, okay, we have no even clue what we were thinking. And now, mind you, the pottery Ashley finds a cooking area, an ancient pottery that has been undisturbed, literally in the place where they cooked. Now, there have been people throughout time that has scavengered, ravished, explored, taken, consumed, whatever terms you're fine with, ancient ruins from there. Ashley finds, some undisturbed pieces literally in a cooking area there. So she grabs 2 pieces, she hands them to me. She has 2 pieces in her hand, and we're like, oh my gosh. I think we take a photo or 2, but at this point they're in my hand, but I can't even really be present because I just know that there's something here. And it's funny, my body's like still trembling and I have goosebumps on it. It's amazing how muscle memory works. But so I'm like, and as we're taking some steps, we come to that tree that Ashley was talking about, and there is poop, like beyond poop. So I get to take that step, and again, she's a little bit to my right behind me. So I'm walking, and at this point, I'm like, oh shit. Like I just knew. I'm like, oh shit. And I'm going so slow that I could barely lift my head because I was scared to death to look up. Because I was like, oh my God, I know it's in the tree. And I look up, it's not in the tree. I look to my right. That thing is 15 feet from me. Ginormous. I've seen mountain lions in different variations in captivity, zoos, what have you. I can tell you that was the largest cat, jaguar, panther, mountain lion, whatever you want to say. The colors were also, I'll never forget that because their colors match the surrounding area so beautiful. And she was freaking huge. And so her tail, so if I'm facing how I'm facing you, now the mountain lion is facing me with its tail elongated, open gate, and just staring. Now at this point, I'm staring at what I believe to be a her, and she's staring at me. And basically, we speak telepathically. She just was like, if you take one more step, you're dead. So even when looking up in that tree, I knew that that was there, but because we must have clapped so much and did whatever we were doing, they got out and were prepared, meaning the mountain lion. And we're in mountain lion territory. There's dens there. They're their havens. There's their children. These are their family. Like, we were completely so dumb and clueless. You have dead carcasses eaten right there. Everything is telling you their poop is everywhere. Like, I mean, girl, add to that, and then we'll continue the.
I know, like I could feel going through the experience, because I remember that moment when I was looking down and I saw those 3 stones perfectly placed, and I knew that that was man-made. And I looked and I was like, oh my goodness, B, I found it. Like, it's like I was hunting for something and looking for
Right.
something. Like, I didn't wake up that morning wanting to find something. You know what I mean? So I looked down, I was like, B, I found it. And so I picked it up, like she said. We looked around, we were like, oh. And I kept looking down, and I didn't look up. I didn't see it. Thank God, because I think I probably would have fainted. But I didn't see it. You looked up, and all I heard was out of your mouth was mountain lion.
Right. That's
Right.
all I could get out. As quiet
And
as a fellow, I could imagine.
exactly. And the immediate, when you said that, something clicked, just to turn and move, and not turn around completely. It was just like we knew we had to make haste in a calm way.
Yes.
So we wouldn't, trigger anything, because I really believe that they were in defense mode, and they weren't hungry in any way. They were just like, let's protect this area. And like you said earlier, we were climbing down things, so we tracked back as quickly as we could, and were able to get back to the edge of the brush and get to the car while our hearts were beating out of our chests.
Yes.
Right? So it shook us to the core, because it's like, we weren't fully out of it yet. We were still kind of in this mode of like, oh my God, we just saw a mountain lion. Like the adrenaline was running. We got in the car. We were like, we felt safe. Right? And we decided to get back out of the car.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, who does that? And let me just add that when I saw the mountain lion, Ashley is so right. I literally was like, mountain lion, because I couldn't scream or yell, because I knew if I did, it was going to leap. So I tried to say it as calm and as bellowy as I possibly could. And Ashley literally pivoted to me, and we just did stand up circles with each other as we pivoted, and then began to slowly scale again these rocks. Now, mind you, we could not run. A, you're not going to be able to outrun a mountain lion. And B, you shouldn't, because then they're going to attack you. And C, it was just not even an option, because the rocks were so big. We had to climb under wood and trees and up rocks to even climb out. And what's crazy is the mountain lion was so close, literally within 15 feet. She could have killed us at any moment. And literally, just as we pivoted, knowing and I believe there was others that I didn't see because we felt so surrounded, and I know we were surrounded.
Right.
And just kind of like followed us out as we were getting out of the mountain lions territory. And I know that they were there to protect the land. But for Ashley and I to, be on this mission to find a secret place. And we do make it to the top. We do. And what I want to do, we talk about the age of the pottery? Or do we wait for the rest of the stuff? Because we made it to the top and we got back out of the car, right?
Yeah. We got bought up. Like I don't know what that decision was in that moment. It's like, okay, we're here. Let's explore the rest of the site here before we leave, because we want to make the most of this experience. Not really grounding in the close call that we just had.
Right. Our legs were still trembling. And we still got out of the car, and we're going to proceed in the actual physical self, like physical place. Like, what? Who does
It's really unexplainable. Like, who does that? Like, this is not me at this point, right?
Yeah.
Looking back, I'm like, I would have never in my right mind, right? But because all of these things were happening sequentially and all of these coincidences were happening sequentially, it was like this whole script that was pre-written was like playing out. And I mean, when I got back out of the car, I had come back into my mind maybe a little bit. And it's like, okay, Brandy, if we're going to go down here, I'm taking a stick or something with me. So, like.
That she did. And I was like, yeah, I should get one too.
Right. So we started to track down. This is the other side now. We were on this side. Right. We came back to the car, which is like kind of in the center. And then we get out of the car and we go down on the other side. And we're thinking that this is okay. But then I'm thinking about 100 yards down, like, look, we just pushed the mountain lions this way.
Right.
This is not a good idea, because now they're kind of outside of where they are. They're probably in the pathway where we're actually walking to, right? Because we've pushed them out of their lair. So I got that same feeling that you had gotten, Brandy, the first time when we started walking down that decline. And I'm like, this is bad. I'm turning around. Let's go. Right. So we did, and there was one of those things on a pole that you could open, and then you can write your name on it. Like this, me and Brandy and Ashley were here. I wonder if that's still there, Brandy. We should go.
Right. I know.
Right? Yeah. So we wrote our names in it, and we got back in the car, and then we left that particular dark place, right? That Canyon of the Ancients. And we were driving back up that beautiful dirt road, contemplating what we just had lived through and being very grateful that we are even back in one piece in this car. And then excited at the same time that we had found, something so ancient. Because when I tell you, the scene looked like it had been undisturbed for many, 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 many years. And the mountain lions were like protecting this area, right? In hindsight, right? So we start driving, and then that first area that spoke to Brandy and said, that's the place, we decided to stop. And this is out, like, this is not in the brush. This is out in the open, a nice open field. And we decided to stop and go to that place and see what else we could find or experience. Right. And we did. We went over there. We looked around. We saw the shards of pottery that this person was, talking about, and, everything kind of was lining up. And then Brandy looked down and she saw a huge tooth, a mountain lion tooth laying right there, right? Signifying all of what we had just gone through and how lucky we were to experience that on all levels, and being able now to be on the other side of that and looking, about 200 yards in front of us to say that's where we were. And we just had that experience and now we're actually seeing a tooth.
Yeah, it was insane. And that was the secret place. So we find all bits of pottery. Now, mind you, to put it in context, what Ashley found and I found in the secret place that no one has disturbed for thousands of years until we came, was a secret place. That pottery was like 1800 years old. Where the pottery that we found, there was like this black and white, and then there was some with ridges. And now, mind you, the person or whatever they were gave us some insight on the aging of pottery. So, and then I kind of looked some stuff up online after. So we realized that the pottery at the secret place, it was so far down and whatever had been undisturbed, was far more far older than all the stuff that we seen at the secret place that he had told us about. And then we literally start just putting little pieces into bags. We still have the one from the other piece, not from down there. Didn't even think about any of this because we're still so caught up in the moment of almost getting killed by this mountain lion. Oh my gosh, he was so huge. I can't even explain how beautiful and how huge and just how close it, like in that animal instinct, it was just insane. And then for that mountain lion tooth to be there, and I touched it. I don't touch anything that's dead. I let rats, I take them off of the glue papers in the Bronx and let them go free in the park. I don't trust anything that's dead because it creeps me out. And I literally touched it and picked it up. So we put all these little pieces in plastic bags and brought it with us. I
would never do that in my right mind. Just
ever.
I would never pick something up that's ancient from an ancient land and take it away. That's not, like, I wouldn't have thought to do that when in my right mind, but I wasn't.
Right. So. And that's the thing. Like, I know of anything, you never touch ancient ancestors' stuff. Like, you just don't do that. It's not cool and it's not okay. But we, like I said, in this experience, we were not in our right mind. And it's interesting because when we were walking on the to try to look for the secret place, I see this rock that's by the edge of the road, and it just always stood out to me. I was like, that's interesting. It's kind of flat. I'm like, that just looks like a token or a place where you just leave gifts for this place for some reason. I don't know why I would even think that, And again, it's so heavy and dense. There's no people. There's no one around. Just us finding secret ancient pottery and ruins in a land that we've never been at and would have no other way to know. But, so we get all that stuff. We put it in the car and we start driving, right? And then we get the phone call that my son, when we're driving, has gotten COVID. Now, mind you, this is when COVID literally just happened. The world's in hysterics. My ex's uncle passed away from COVID. I'm pretty sure that was right after. But the world was in hysteria, and I was scared to death about my son having COVID, my oldest son, and I'm not there. I can't be there to help him. All I could hear is all these horrible things of what's happening with the COVID. So I'm crying and just beside myself. And there was no way that I could leave because it takes me, by the time from my flight to New York, it's like I fly for like the whole entire day, basically. So there was no way I could leave. So it was just such an emotional, scary thing. But if I could have been out of there, I would have been out of there immediately. But now I'm caught up in this. We almost just got killed by a mountain lion. So My body is still shaking and trembling with what just happened. And now my kid has COVID. So it's like what happened, I guess, couldn't even freak out the way I normally would have freaked out. That's the long and short of it. So then we start driving back. Right? We went back to the Heartland, right?
Yeah, no, it was like this feeling of victory, right? We were so pleased with ourselves in that moment through all of the turmoil of you finding out your son, like, look at all of these beautiful things that we just found. And we're going to go back and share it with everyone. And, you know, us bringing gifts. Look,
Right,
we bear gifts. Like, what? What, Brandy? What? Okay. So we get back to the Heartland and we're still kind of vibing. We're like, yeah, right? Oh my gosh, my son has COVID, but I know he's going to be okay. And, you know, we were walking towards a certain area and we see 3 advanced healers that were there with us, with our first cohort. They were in the second cohort and were at the live. So they had already gone through their first, you know, certification of energy healing, and they were, you know, going through the second. And we were so excited to meet with them. And we looked at them and said, oh, look, guys, you know, we went here and look at what we found. And so we bring out these things out of our bags and we start to show them, and their faces drop like instant, like, you, what did you do? And in that moment, I think that was, sorry, there's keys in the background. At that moment, I was broken out of my trance. I was in trance that whole time. And in that moment, when I saw that woman's face change, it's like I knew. Everything up until that point, it was like, what just happened? And who was that? What was I? Right? And we went through this whole exercise of, you know, this is what we did. And we were telling the story and we were trying to explain, and this is a good thing. We were in a good, you know, an intention of helping and having an experience, you know. And so one of the women, we were like, oh, well, let's try and cleanse, you know, what you brought, right? She had a Palo Santo stick. And so, but she was just like, no, like, no. She just kept saying no, right, Brandy? And Brandy's like, oh yeah, let's just cleanse and clear it, right? Let's just do that. You know, we can do it. We can, you know. And I'm standing there like, I'm awake now, and I'm like, well, I'll take this stuff back.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we can't, I'm not bringing anything home with me. No,
right.
thank you. Right?
And no one wanted any of that to be brought home. So that's like what was even more funny. And then it was like that aha, or the light bulb, or the awakening, like just our awareness came back to focus. And now, mind you, I can feel the land that we were currently on. Everything became dark there too, where before everything was very light.
Yeah, we had come back on the property. They had let's go put these, what you brought, into the soil to cleanse them. And I think that's when we noticed the clouds come over.
Yep.
The wind picked up almost instantly.
Yes, almost immediately.
And it was actually literally pushing us in the direction of the gate to
go.
leave. Remember that? I felt like I was being pushed.
Oh, yes. No, for sure. Like, definitely, you and I looked at each other when the light bulb was like, yeah, we have to bring this back.
Yeah.
And so we just looked at each other and we were like, I was like, Wonder Twins, activate.
Oh my God.
I don't know why. But it was just like, oh shit, we gotta go, and we gotta go now, and we gotta go bring this stuff back.
Get in the car. Get
in the car, in the wind. Now, anyone who knows me knows that the wind freaks me out The wind communicates to me. It's just a lot, but also because wind actually takes, it can pull your energy or whatever. It's just, the wind always freaks me out. We'll just leave it there. But the wind was literally guiding. The whole place turned dark, the clouds, all that came in like just over us. And then it was like the wind was pushing us to the car. And we're like, oh yeah, we got to go. So we already knew, we're like, hey, we're probably not going to be back for dinner. We don't know how long this is going to take, but we're going to bring this stuff back. So we get in the car, and now, mind you, and I feel like in hindsight, when I think about it, it was just, I think for me, when we had no desire to bring the stuff, I was no intention of bringing it anywhere home. I think it was just to include those people because they wanted to see the ancient ruins so they could see parts of it or fractals. I don't know what other thing in my mind, but it was like, oh, so you could be part of the experience too, right? But it's amazing how everything lined up for us, because so the wind is now pushing us towards the car. Now I start getting messages. Just come back. Just come, bring it back. Just come back. It's okay. Just come back. And so I'm like, oh shit, okay. And the wind like just pushes us in the car. We drive, we're out, we go back. Now, what's more ironic is that, remember I mentioned the stone. That was at the dark place. That's what we called it. There was this big stone. So when we get there, we already knew where to put the stuff back for the secret place. Okay. Because that's more easily accessible and wide open. You just have to be kind of trained and know what you're doing. We were not trained to know what we were doing. God just said, hey, this is where it is. So, or the spirit that sent us, I don't know. But so we just knew where to put all that back. Now, because we almost just got killed by the mountain lion in the other area with the secret place, the most ancient pottery. So the other pottery was like 1,000 years old, 800. I think the oldest we found in the open place was like 1,200 probably. So the stuff for the real old stuff where the mountain lion almost killed us, literally they were in immediate proximity. Like that's where she showed herself. That's what's even more nuts. That was like over 1,800 years old. But we couldn't, our fear, I think, wouldn't allow us to go back to put it in the same position or spot. So, and it wasn't safe for us to do that. So we did put it back, just not in the same spot. But having said that, Ashley and I both talked about when we were at the light place. She picked up 2 stones. I picked up 2 stones. And what we did, and somehow this awareness came over me when we were going. I was like, oh my gosh, Ash, I think we were supposed to bring light from the light place here to the dark place to heal this land, to bring lightness to it, to help transmute the pain that was suffered here. I never did land healings or land clearings. This is GO1. This is level 1. But it was just this knowing and awareness, and the way spirit was just communicating with me. Like, you're just supposed to bring light. That's what you're here for. You are bringing light. And what's amazing is that how we had that cloud coverage and nastiness, when we got out to the street, leaving the heartland, the sun literally followed us to the heartland and brought the sun all the way down as we're putting the stuff down. So it actually started to feel a little bit lighter and followed us. So we gave a stone offering to the place where it was the secret place.
Same vibration.
Yep. And then we did another offering for the stone for the secret place. Both of them came from the light place. So when we did, what happens? We
got back in the car, Brandy, and we felt horrible. I don't think I've ever beat myself up so much. Not only did I almost just die, It was just now this horrible feeling of guilt and shame around even thinking that could even touch what was there, what was being
Right.
protected. Oh my God. I think we cried all over again, right? So
Yeah.
we had come up from this beautiful light place, Sand Canyon Pueblo, activation, higher self. And then now we're in this moment of like the lowest of the lows with the shame and the guilt and just the judgment. I mean, I was beside myself. I was like, how could I even think about even
Right.
what? Yeah. So that
Yeah.
was the whole car ride as we were like, okay, we gotta go. We're gonna miss dinner. Well, let's get back to the heartland for dinner. I think that was our thing. We've done this. Let's get back to the heartland. Brandy's putting in the heartland address into her GPS.
Mm-hmm.
And we're driving home and we're crying and we're beating ourselves up and we feel guilty and shameful. And then we look up and we're driving by the San Pablo Canyon. This is the light place.
Yeah, the light, so Canyon of the Ancients is the light place. Then the Sand Canyon Pueblo, I think, is the heavy place.
Okay, yes. I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the light place, where we look up and we're like, this is the light place. Like I didn't put in the GPS
Yeah, and the
coordinates
GPS
for
says
here.
you've arrived at your destination. I'm like, I didn't put that in here. But right when we passed it, because I was like, that's not the Heartland. So we kind of drove a little past it, right? And then I stopped and I was like, oh my God, should we go back there?
Yeah, we looked at each other, right? We were like, yep,
Mhm.
we're
We
going
gotta
back.
go back.
We're going back to the top of that mount, to the ruins, to finish the circle, to close the circle. And that's what we did. We're like, we're gonna miss dinner. It doesn't matter. We have to do this. It's getting dark. We're scared that the mountain lions are gonna come out. We're gonna go
Right.
anyway,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like we just shot back up the hill in haste because we just wanted to confess to the ancestors that we had made this mistake. We had gone through this cycle and were just wanting to give thanks for being guided and being saved and being allowed to even go through this journey, to get on the other side of this, to tell our story. We cried again.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so beautiful and profound and life changing. Like I can't explain to you. Like I just never the same.
Yeah.
Never the same. And we cried all the way back down the mountain into the car. And we're like, we're not even gonna get dinner. But we did this. We feel so much better because we came and we sang libation and we gave thanks to the ancestors, thankful for, just we were basking in gratitude and got back in that car and went back to the heartland. And go ahead, Brandy. I mean, what
Yeah.
happened after that? When we got back to the heartland, we were just hanging our heads low, weren't we?
Well, I think we definitely, when we made it, when GPS and technology, just so everybody understands, technology and me, my energy field I don't know, it always interferes with technology, or spirit always works through technology with me. But spirit brought us back to the light place. They knew that we had to go there to close this circle. We went and we did what we were supposed to do. We know this in hindsight, but during that, we didn't realize that's what we were doing, that we were bringing light to the dark place, that we were closing these ancient practices and circles. We didn't realize that then. But God and spirit brought us back to the light place to go up and to release our fear, our shame, our guilt, our embarrassment of how we could even do something like that. And I think for the most part, we left a lot of that shame and judgment of ourselves there.
We
So
needed
we
it.
didn't feel as terrible when we got back in the car, because we could have beat ourselves up for days. We could have beat
Hmm.
ourselves up for the whole time. But
Hmm.
really, the light place helped us kind of recapture some of that beautiful high vibration that we had earlier in the day. And then we went back to the Heartland. And what's amazing, when we got back to the Heartland, we had people who were there who were loving and supportive to us. They had actually saved dinner for us. They saved our plate, so we had that. And we had this incredible experience and understanding of, sharing the story of how we almost got killed by the mountain lion, and how we had learned 50 different lessons in one day, right? If we think about how I had learned, so you and I typically, we like for people to be happy, so sometimes you say that's a people pleaser. But for me, even when I was feeling all of those things, when we were at the dark place in the beginning, I didn't speak up. I didn't say anything. I didn't say, hey, let's just not, or let's go over here. I just was like, well, I'm here. I want to support her. This is my new friend. We're clearly, the guy sent us over here and we're just looking to see if we see, so I'm like, I just wanted to support that for you, and for me. But it's okay. You have to speak. And the signs the spirit sent us, how nature and the universe showed up for us, like to guide us out, how my mom sent me one single butterfly and to guide me back out from that side to get us on the other side. And we didn't get lost in the woods. The mountain lion didn't kill us. Thank God it wasn't hungry, because it already ate the dead carcass that we saw and didn't listen to pay attention to that to get out. you know? So I think when we got back, it was just really, we didn't feel as bad because Spirit had brought us to the Canyon of the Ancients back again, instead of bringing us straight to the Heartland. So, yeah, it was definitely a crazy story. A profound story, but I know God was working through us the entire time. And because the Canyon of the Ancients, where the first spot is, we now know that, they used to do all kinds of ceremonies and practices there. And some even that now they would be like, oh, we shouldn't have done that because that wasn't as loving as they could have been. That wasn't of light. And we basically help cleanse and transmute that there, and also bring the love and light and empowerment and connection, of that place, the darker place, the Sand Canyon Pueblo. So that was part of our mission. We were sent to bring light, and we just didn't know it. And it had to come out maybe in a way that was ignorant and stupid. To say the least, in all kinds of ways. Like, there is no way that we should have found what we found in the secret place. There's just
Nobody. Yeah. I mean, spiritually on our journeys, I mean, we're so interconnected to this process of transmuting that energy that was still lying within us, right? In our own journeys, and what we actually resonate with, and how it reconciled within our own, story, or of our karmic history, or generational pain, or suffering, or traumas. And I mean, this was the first, it was the first time we had energetically exchanged with the land in a way that now has led us to want to go to other ancient sites around the world and heal and interact with the land intentionally. So it was definitely just on purpose. And like I mean, there's no other way the story could have played out. There's no other way.
Yeah.
It was highly significant for our spiritual journeys. Go ahead, B.
No, and I think it's interesting that it was you and I, and especially because of who we are, our karmic, our ancestral stuff that I know, even for me, I've always been a person who could occupy very dark spaces. And I could bring light to those spaces and places, but most people would never even imagine to enter them, let alone visit them or go there. And with you, I think because of your power and your ancient wisdom and past, even as the Empress of the House of Jade, the understanding was we now know we weren't there to take anything. And the ancestors know we weren't there to take anything. They do understand as well our sometimes in your human body, you have to be used as a vessel for the higher and greatest good. And in hindsight, that's really what it was that happened. But for Ashley to pick up 2 stones, for me to pick up 2 stones, that we both had them to make our first offering. It was really incredible. And, I think that shapeshifter could see when we came down from the top of the mountain that he had never experienced, especially 2 frequencies connected and so high. He was like, oh, these are the ones,
And we were ready for that task and to step into that task and test and come out of it on the other side.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. It really is a lot. Like there's so many things. And the way that because I think you and I are people that people don't have to beat us up or be harsh on ourselves, because we would do that for ourselves 1,000 times worse than anybody else could.
Mm-hmm.
But for us to have such a big experience that could have just wrecked us, we found grace and forgiveness and the release of judgment very quickly through that experience.
It was resolved, yes. It was resolved so quickly, so fast. I mean, yeah. I mean, it shows. I mean, we got the proof when we went back to the Heartland for the second time.
Mm-hmm.
Because, just talking through that experience in those next, how was it, like 6 months between visits?
Yeah.
We would talk about our story.
Yeah, about 6 months.
Yeah, we would talk about our story. We would, relive the experience. We would, ask certain questions, and we didn't really understand, why this happened to us until we went back to the Heartland. And I mean, Brandy, you were like, we're going back to that place. And I'm just like, do you really want to go back?
Right. And I just knew we had to go back to see it.
Right.
We just had to see it. For some reason, I just knew we had to go back there. I'm like, right. Can't leave here without doing that for some reason.
Yeah. And on the drive there, we were like, I can't believe we're going back to this place. I wonder what it looks like now. And that same turn onto that same dirt road that you mentioned earlier, that in and itself was a different experience. Because the first time it was like the unknown. This time we turned on the road and we were like, is this the same place?
Right.
Right? Like this doesn't feel like the same. So you kept driving and I'm like, yep, that's the place over there. Yeah, we passed that place. Like we're in the right place. And then on the right side, we started to see cows and livestock. And it was like, are we in the same, like last time you were here felt like death.
It did. It was death.
And now it feels alive, right? And then we turn into the parking lot and the parking lot is full of cars.
Right. It was like, where are we? It literally felt like a completely different place, And right. What was nice is that we had Joey and Lauren with us, right? Because we were going to drive from there to go to Sedona. So we got to bring them and we all got out and did some clearing and cleansing and gratitude to the ancestors of the Canyon of the Ancients and all the ancient ruins. And we all just cried and had beautiful tears of joy and release. And it was absolutely magical to have the four of us to also be able to impact the land the second time. Yeah, incredible.
Yeah, the stones that we had picked were still there as an offering. I don't think the pottery was there; that was taken. But
Well, I mean, I think from the old place, but we didn't even check. Remember, we didn't even check or touch it. And I feel like no one's going to find that. In my heart of hearts, I'm cool because I'm like, no one's gonna find it where we put it. I don't think someone took it. I just think they can't find it, and I'm okay with that.
girl, it was so profound the second time because I'm like, this is not the same place. It's like the energy work was done. The energy exchange with the land was done. The mountain lions were given permission to relocate in another area. They no longer needed to protect the land because it had been reconciled. So they had moved on. You know, there was no threat of the livestock being eaten. So
Right.
they, the cows were there,
Right.
right? And then more people were coming to visit and give homage to and respect to the specific spot of the ancient ruins that were there. So I thought that was very profound and came back full circle and confirmation that we were in the right place doing the work, no matter how crazy, stupid, insane it sounded in the moment and what we lived through and possibly not getting out of, and how detrimental it was to the area, to the
Right.
to upliftment of the area, right? How necessary. So
So necessary.
yeah.
And interesting enough as well, the mountain lions continued even in GO2. So
Yes.
that was GO2, right?
Yeah, we were there. We were down by the Heart Labyrinth, and you had an experience after that, but that one was like we didn't see anything, but I heard a growl when you
Right.
were walking towards like a specific tree, and I'm like, you need to get your butt back here.
Right. Well, it was like, and what's
Yeah.
interesting is Ashley was like, "Did you hear that?" And I was like, "Did you hear that?" So we both heard it, and then we just walked backwards. So long and short of it, literally where we go for our energy healings and all that, unbeknownst to us, there was a mountain lion there in the tree. And I did not see it, right? Because how the brush in the thicket is, but you heard it.
Right.
And then I went and checked online to make sure that that sound was the right sound, what we believed it to be. And there's definitely recordings that sounded just like it. So I know it was a mountain lion there in the tree, and it made sense of where the crossroad was, but they just tend to find us, or we find them, one of the two. So
Have big cat energy.
that big cat energy, one of my spirit animals is the black panther, the jaguar. So yeah, it's like, and then a third time I was at the Heartland, and then I was with a group of people. We were going to do like dusk yoga. And after we had eaten, everyone's there, and I had, told people about the mountain lion story. So there was someone there, and we're there and we're doing it. And, we're halfway through. So then I can hear her. I could feel them. I knew they were there to the left of me. And I feel like they're always in close proximity to me. It's like, in hindsight, I feel like they're not there to hurt me. I think we just have a energetic resonance of both fierce warrior, protector, and love at the same time. But like, I could feel them. But in my mind, I was like, oh, is that just my past experience talking or whatever? Nope. Long and short of it, they were there. So then Patricia sees these eyes come from. So the labyrinth is here. So there's like a dip a little bit down here and then more up. So they must have been down at the bottom part and in the exact spot, the bottom left where I felt it. And she said, and I could hear with the fear in her voice that I knew. I didn't even look for the eyes. I just stood up and had everyone to be calm. And then we just kind of walked back up the path. And then one time I got to see this huge bobcat like run right in front of me. I think I manifested that because I was like, oh, it'd be so cool to see a bobcat or a cat like right in front of me while I'm in the safety of my car. And that was what happened. But yes. So the big cat energy, the way they protect the land, the way spirit works through them. But the whole place, even in GO3, it was still vibrant and lighter and had people. It was just like a whole nother planet. So though, you know, we could have been eaten alive, shreds. It was part of our spiritual awakening. It's part of our spiritual journey. It was part of who we are and how we got here. But 1,000 other things, you know, kind of was speaking to us with the universe. And, you know, we didn't listen. So we came a little bit too close to death, but thank God protected us. And, you know, we're here to talk about this story and even share some of our moments where we may not be the most proud of ourselves, but also we know it happened for a reason. We were meant to bring light to that place. And we did. And so it's forever changed the land and changed the experience for everyone. And when you do energy work, you just don't have any idea. Even transitioning souls, that's what happened. I think we helped a lot of other souls transition to go closer to the light.
Mm-hmm.
And to witness that was just incredible, you know? So you just don't know how one simple thing for Ashley and I committing to doing Geo Love 1, I learned I was going to learn to be a healer because I didn't know until I got there. You know, that was the case, that we're here and we took a risk and it's helped thousands of souls and other human beings along the way.
Beautifully said. I mean, I just think we want to encourage people to walk a path of spiritual awakening because, you know, this is the reason why we went deeper into our own, you know, energy healing journey. I don't think without that experience, we would be where we are right now and talking and doing the business that we're in because we've just felt it so powerfully. And it can come through in so many different ways. I mean, this is just our story. This is the way that we were supposed to feel and experience such profoundness, you know, of our intuition and of energy and understanding energetic management and feeling called to spread this information. So when people are going through certain things and it's like unexplainable, or it's like, how did this line up in this way? You are exactly where you are supposed to be. And, you know, as you're learning about yourself and your intuitive gifts, you start to trust them more and, you know, you're more discerning, right? At the same time, each time you go through, you know, an uncomfortable experience. So yeah, I think that it's our sharing this story hopefully is a testament to for people to take that leap into you know, spiritual evolution and growth, however it looks like to them, you know, minus the mountain lion.
Ditto. Ditto. Yeah. And I'm hoping that people will, you know, after they watch this video, that they'll just add in the comments, like, what was their, you know, life or the most impactful moment or experience. It doesn't have to be near death, but it's very common for people to really awaken their spiritual gifts when they've had near death experiences. And I think you and I have had our own beyond the mountain lion near death experiences.
Mhm.
Um, so I think that supports it, but also it could just be a monumental moment, a very impactful one. But
Mhm.
share that and how that's, impacted you to maybe just to start your spiritual journey, to be curious, to awaken your spiritual gifts. Like what are those stories? And we would love to know them and hear about them and talk about it. So that would be amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's it for our mountain lion story and almost getting killed,
Right.
and
Mhm.
finding our purpose and our mission of land healing and clearing and, our own unique gifts that we have to bring through in this incarnation and really stepping into that. Right. So, and then going through it together. Right. I mean, if I went through this myself, I probably would have just given up everything. It's like, I'm out.
Mhm.
I'm out.
Right, I'm done.
Yes.
But we
Yes.
got to do it together, and that's why I'm saying, if you recap the highlights, I think, of our story while we're wrapping up here, God and spirit brought us together. Everything that lined up, Ashley and I met in the program. She had my defined numbers for the room. All the other people, mentioned the Canyon of the Ancients. Ashley decided, hey, you want to all go together? I'm like, sure, because they got me excited to go. Um, and then we had the most beautiful and profound experience on top of that mountain and could release and give thanks and gratitude, and to the point that my gifts even opened up, that I could see your higher self, like in real life, in real time.
Mhm.
um so yes, it's just amazing to me that all of that can culminate and come together, us meeting that person, that skinwalker, shapeshifter, whatever, and him sending that. Like, what are the odds and the chances to him sending us to a place, a secret place, and we find a secret place, and then I'm sorry, and then we find something that has been undisturbed for over 1,000 years, almost 2,000 years, that I know and feel the place before I even touch it and see it, that was the actual secret place. Like, what are the chances that all of these things could culminate together, that I get one butterfly when there's nothing and just death silence, and my spirit is just screaming, but I say nothing. I think that's a testament, even in my life for a long time. Like, I've been screaming so many things in silence, but saying nothing, and I've so evolved beyond that place, and I got to do it with you. And I know, like, our hearts our love and our light and are pure, and we're able to do that and bring that all together. And we just needed spirit to help serve them. They needed beings that were in the human, flesh to do it, and here we are. And that's what we did, and we brought light to make things better and raise the frequency there. And it's changed, like I said, it's touched people and spirit, and it's the underpinning of our story. And to look a mountain lion in the face 15 feet from you, when that thing is ginormous, but it is the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen in my life. Like, their colors and the way it matches with the background, but like the ferocity, but the gentleness, the passion, the protection in her eyes. I will never forget that moment, but also how we intuitively knew, Ash and I, what to do. For me to not scream and run and freak the hell out. Who wouldn't, when you're like, this huge beast is literally right next to you, and
Mhm.
you're in their territory, you're in the middle of the woods, you're in their space. Basically, their dens were what we were in, that whole area. And you just pivoted to me. We, by the grace of God, were able to make it, and it just witnessed us go without leaping. because of our movements. We trusted that. We just learned 50 different lessons in one day that you would have taken. That's why energy work works so quick. When it comes to, coaching and other things, they're beautiful and they serve you. But when it comes to like, boom, transformation, boom, release, energy often is the way to go, because it's just happens, and all of that came up. And I didn't go down the rabbit hole with my son for COVID. And thank God he was okay and he came out healthy. But I was scared to death. That's my baby. Like, so, our connection to everything, the land, all the people, how they supported us on the way back, like how they rooted for us and cared for us, and even then talked about the things that triggered them with the experience. But that was also meant to trigger other things for them next time, what came up to be healed and released, like say Joey, for example.
Yeah.
So just know it's all connected. We're all connected. Thank you for sharing our story. Thank you for being part of our journey. Definitely, we look forward to your stories. Anything else, Ash, you want to add?
I think you summed it up so beautifully. Just explore with healthy discernment, right? This is just a story that has helped us, and your story is going to unfold beautifully the way that it's supposed to. And encouraging to trust, your intuition, the signs that are coming up around you, lean into them. It's not just a coincidence. I think this story is a testament to that.
Yes.
Yes. So thank you for joining us again. And we love you all. If you want to check out our website or any of more of our channels, we are just building a beautiful community of like-minded souls, on our journeys to wholeness. And we want to just unite star seeds, light workers. We're all on our own beautiful individual journeys to wholeness. And it's just so much more important to walk together and to support each other, just like how Brandy has supported me in so many ways. And we want to invite you as we, as the collective helps to impact 1 billion souls.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're so great. We're here to talk about it. We're alive today to share this story. And we love you all unconditionally. Thank you so much.